Okay, in this video, what I want to do is, now that we've done the timeline, and we had to go through that pretty quickly, and I think I did it in about 11 minutes, but so now I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper and pull out some of the terms and concepts that came up along the way, and make sure that we've got these in our notes, but also that we've got a grasp, because a couple of these are crucially important to understanding how First Amendment law works, as we're going to see. So, a Sedition Act, once again. Here we have a time when the government tries to circumvent the First Amendment so blatantly. How can you have a law that makes it a crime to criticize government and have the First Amendment at the same time? Crazy. Anyway, so we had yet another Sedition Act during the Civil War. Once again, the Supreme Court never had a chance to pass on it or judge on it, because when the war ended, the Sedition Act went away. A public accommodation. Remember, in 1875, these people in Congress, trying to help African Americans, especially in the southern states, banned discrimination in public accommodation. And so let's talk a moment about what a public accommodation is, because this is a really crucial concept, and in fact it was just in the news last week as we started this course. The Supreme Court, the very first day that I made a video, the Supreme Court decision came down in a case called Masterpiece Cake Shop. It was about this. So the concept, the public accommodation, the definition is this: private property that has been open to the public, therefore it's treated like public property. So in other words, you can't discriminate. So if there are any laws that affect the legal difference between public property and private property is very straightforward. Public property is owned by the government. Private property is not. All right? But if private property has been open to the public, like a business, like a cake shop, then rules from the public sphere apply, like anti-discrimination laws. And so, of course, one of the bedrock principles in First Amendment law is that the First Amendment is not a shield against laws of general applicability. And an anti-discrimination law is a law of general applicability. The Supreme Court, even though it sided with the cake shop owner, it did not abandon that rule. In fact, Justice Kennedy made a point of emphasizing this concept. They decided it on some narrow legal technical ground. But the concept is private property that's been open to the public. Right? Now, of course, there were a lot of angry white people about that in the 1875 Civil Rights Act, and so they challenged it. It went to the court, and the court ruled in favor of the white business owners, and they came up with this idea, and this is a crucially important concept. State action doctrine stands for the proposition that without government involvement, no constitutional claim can be made, because only the government can violate your rights. The implication in First Amendment law, then, that means that the First Amendment doesn't reach private actors. Nito Cobain could tell me to shut up all day long, and he wouldn't be violating my First Amendment rights, because he's not part of the government. He's not part of the government. This is how all constitutional law works, not just First Amendment law. And so let me say it, I've got it down into one really tight sentence. Without government involvement, no constitutional claim can be made, because only the government can violate your rights. Semicolon. Thus, comma, the First Amendment does not reach private actors. Period. It's about as tight as I can get it. And think about this for a minute. How about, this comes up all the time. This is the major mistake that most Americans make about the First Amendment, and I don't want you to make that mistake. So just to throw out a contemporary example, when Colin Kaepernick first did the very first protest, the team could have fired him on the spot, and it would not have violated his First Amendment rights, because a football team is not part of government. Ta-da, and now you know. State action doctrine, corporate personhood. This is going to come into play in First Amendment law in a very important way. I'll say the definition one more time. A corporation is made up of people, therefore it is treated like a person in the eyes of the law. meaning corporations have rights. In this case, that case was under the 14th Amendment, and then we're going to see a case later under the First Amendment where the court says, well, yes, they have rights under the First Amendment too. Corporate personhood, a very important concept. And then finally, separate but equal, and many of you may remember from high school, the Plessy v. Ferguson case. One thing that you may not have, that if you studied it in high school, it may not have sunk in, the Supreme Court essentially caused the Jim Crow era. The Supreme Court, with this decision, essentially gave the green light to states and localities to use the power of the law to discriminate against black people. The Supreme Court literally ushered in the Jim Crow era, and all of that was not fixed until Brown v. Board of Education in 1954, which we will see several weeks from now. Okay.